Welcome to Deliciously Motivated Mindset, hosted by Deborah and Moira. This podcast is designed to help listeners unlock their full potential, both personally and professionally, so they can thrive, not just survive. Deborah and Moira explore how natural tendencies don't always serve individuals and provide insights on how to harness existing strengths. Their goal is to equip listeners with the habits, mindset shifts, and strategies needed for lasting, meaningful change. Finding purpose and fulfillment can be challenging, but this podcast offers expert conversations, practical advice, and valuable tools to help align with a true sense of purpose and create a more fulfilling life. So grab a notebook, open your notes app, and get ready to take in some game-changing insights. Let's dive in.
Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome, dear Deb.
Hi.
Hello, my dear. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset conversations. It's always so good to get immersed in these conversations. Today, we've got a really, what we think is a bit of a hot topic. So I'm interested in seeing where we go with this one. I'm going to talk about techniques to release other people's opinions. OMG.
It sounds so easy.
It does. It does. But you know what? Maybe it could be. But before we get into that, let's just bring ourselves into the present moment. I encourage you to take a nice, deep, nurturing breath. Breathe in through your nose. And maybe breathe out through your mouth with a long, slow exhale. And if it feels right for you, I invite you to put one hand over your heart space and one hand over your belly. And take another deep breath. And in your mind's eye, and as best you can, pretend, visualize that you've got a cord that's coming from the base of your spine, from your tailbone, right down into Earth's core. Anchoring you, allowing you to receive the nurturing energy from Mother Earth. The cool thing is, now that you've dropped that cord, and this is why I wanted to take us through this exercise in particular with this idea of releasing other people's opinions, because now that you've got that cord down into Earth's core, I want you to just scan your own energy field and tell any energy that's not yours, that you've maybe picked up along the way, other people's opinions, ideas, beliefs, tell them to leave and drain them down out through that cord down into the earth. Take another nice deep breath. Energy like that must do what you tell it. We are all energetic beings and we're powerful beyond measure. So when we say, please leave, energy that doesn't serve us, it will. And also, while we're in this idea of anchoring and connecting, call back all energy that is yours. Call it back into your heart space. Take another nice deep breath. Allowing you to feel balanced and whole and connected. And then just set an intention that you're connecting your energies with everybody else that's listening to this episode with you and beyond. And just holding that, expanding your heart energy, feeling the loving energy from everyone else that may be affected or influenced by our conversation today. Good. And then one more nice deep breath. Feeling grounded and present, we encourage you to gently pick up your note-taking device, however that is, your pen or your pencil or pad of paper, journal, notebook, or your electronic note-taking device. Because we want to get into this conversation, sharing ideas and techniques to release other people's opinions. So, my dear, where would you like to start us off with this idea of releasing other people's opinions. And P.S., tip number 1 is to regularly do some form of that kind of exercise that I just took us through, where you allow yourself to feel grounded and held and seen by Mother Earth, and then release all energy that's not serving you. Wouldn't you say that's the got to start us off?
I know. I was just thinking, who starts after that? It's my job to start. That's what I was like. What? What? I'm after that. That's such a beautiful way to set us up. You know, I'm going to go to the 4 agreements.
Of
I'm
course you
going to
are.
go there because when you can just live by the 4 agreements, it allows you to just bit by bit by bit, without going too brutal, too hard, too fast, too hard straight away, the 4 agreements. And there is number 1, because there's clearly one particular one here. Be impeccable with your word.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Yes.
Now, all 4 of those totally relate to techniques to release other people's opinions. But the one I really would like to emphasize on, and we know what number this is, number 2, don't take things personally.
Yep.
Because you don't know what the other person is dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. And if they have had a funk of a day and they've come home and you're all over them and you want to do this, and this, and they're not in that mood, you are going to be the one who's going to be affected. So you don't know what the other person's, what's going on in them, in their world, basically. So don't take anything personally. The short version, there's nothing more I can actually say to it. That's it.
Nope. And you know something? I don't know about you, but there have been situations in my life where I've actually had to repeat to myself in my mind over and over and over and over again. This is not about me. This is not about me. Like if somebody's yelling at you or saying you did this or look what you did or didn't do, it's
Yeah.
not about
No, it didn't
you.
do.
And so that to me, that's the add-on to that don't take things personally. But sometimes the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, I did drop the ball. I did screw up. But no, it's not about you. It's not about you. Right?
Well, even just that one there, I say to people, 3 things. You want to be seen, heard, acknowledged. If you've got anyone who's in a discombobulated state, all they require is to be seen, heard, acknowledged. Then you can deal with the rest of it. But also for yourself. So if you're thinking about these other people's opinions and it's really getting to you, just acknowledge that you can see, hear, and acknowledge their stuff.
Yep.
Not just yourself, but actually, oh, I can see. I can see what they're saying. I can hear what they're saying, and I can acknowledge it. You don't have to agree with it, but you can just acknowledge it like this
Yeah,
is
I
what
was
it is.
just going to say that. You don't have to like it, right?
You don't like it, but it's just enough to allow you to go, oh, okay, now I can see the bigger picture.
Mhm.
Now I can see the bigger picture. Yeah.
Seeing the bigger picture, but also right there with that part, see, hear, and acknowledge, you're actually calming your own nervous system, aren't you?
Mm. Well, you're
Which is,
respecting yourself too.
yes. Yes.
Because you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And you might need to repeat that in your head. It's not about me.
Yes, it's not about me. It's not about me at all.
But
Yeah.
seeing, hearing, and knowledge, and I like how you said that too. It's so important that you see that in others, but it's also super important for yourself. See, hear, and acknowledge. Maybe you are feeling a bit cranky or a bit ticked off or something. Just see, hear, and acknowledge. You know what? I'm just in a bit of a funk right now.
Well, it
It's
just gets
okay.
it to it. Just, yeah, exactly. I find if you can do that, you just go, oh, no wonder.
Mm.
No wonder I'm a little bit out of sorts because I've had this traffic jam and I've been stuck in, or no wonder I'm out of sorts because of this. Like it just allows you to actually can see, hear, and acknowledge yourself. But it's a level of respect I find we
Mhm.
have for ourselves. Because if, well, you know that one, if you're not respecting yourself, no one else will.
That's true.
Whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not. I do feel that's a biggie for us and for other people as well, but definitely for us.
So along that line, what I was just making a wee note here about was that if you do take something to heart and you feel a wee bit wounded or criticized or told off somehow, is rather than make it about them, like, oh, I have to deal with something they've said or haven't said,
Mm.
use it as a wee nudge or a wee situation that basically is created for your own best good to look within, right?
Yeah.
To come in and say, gosh, uh, is there something that I've dropped? Is there something that I need to care for in my own PEM's well-being, right? That physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Sometimes if we take something personally, it's because we've depleted ourselves somewhere on our own physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual care, right? Does that make
Well,
sense?
and I think if we looked at that and just said, be curious.
Yes.
Curious, because is this mine to hold on to, or
Yep.
is this somebody else's?
Yep.
And I think that be curious, because when you can look within, be curious, look within and go, is this mine or is it not?
Mhm.
And then it's literally, no, this is not mine. That's it, move on. Yes, this is mine. Great. Then you're going to celebrate it and you're going to work with whatever it is. But the other thing is, if it's not yours, then it's not yours. Release it.
Mhm.
We talk about techniques to release other people's opinion. Drop that hot potato. You don't have to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it still is. I think though that feels like two separate tips.
Yeah,
They're
totally.
right. That if it is, use it as a tap on your shoulder and check in. But I love that word curiosity. Can you
Mm,
just be curious? Like, oh, what am I going to discover here? What is going on? And to your point, is it mine or you or something else? And
mm,
so if it's yours, then great. There, so here's your next tip is to celebrate, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. So,
totally.
because if it is yours, then celebrate. Woohoo! Look, I've got something to dig into, to evolve, to develop, to transform, and there's a gift there, right?
Yeah, I have to giggle because as I was thinking that, I was like, celebrate it's yours, but also if it's not yours, celebrate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
just went, actually, because I celebrate for me, I'm like, oh, I've got a goodie to work on here. But actually celebrate, oh, I've got a goodie I can hand to someone else. It's not mine.
Exactly.
So either way, you're going to celebrate, people. Either way,
Yeah,
you're going to celebrate. Yeah.
yeah, I like that. And so you see that the other part of all of this, there's a thread in here, is to stay present, to
Mm,
not get attached to stories or scenarios or make assumptions. They're saying this to me because of blah blah blah. Can't
yeah.
do that, right? So that's the other part of the for agreement. But it's really, really important to stay present. And you know how you were saying about um you don't know what somebody's going through or what their emotional situation is, but you cannot hold space or witness it unless you make the choice to stay in the present moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think I'm going to go back to analogy that you
You.
is drinking from the
Oh,
saucer.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you hand your cup to somebody else to drink from your cup, give them the cup and saucer and get them to drink from the saucer. And I love that because that's your overflow. So
Yes,
if you're gonna, if your techniques to release other people's opinions, if you're looking to do something and you're exhausted, it's not going to work out the way you want it to because you're going to end up
100%.
breaking yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
so just be aware of those things as well. So when you're giving, give from your overflow.
Yep. And that's why sacred self-care is priority number one, regardless of what's going on or what's on your to-do list or the
Mm,
demands that are put on you. That you must fill your cup first. And it's in order to have that overflow to then give.
mm.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful way. I love that whole give from your saucer.
Just makes sense. You're right. You're right because I've got to keep replenishing myself. Otherwise, you become burnt out, and we know what happens when you become burnt out. You become resentful,
That's
and you
right.
actually become an a-hole to a lot of people who actually don't even know what's going on around you.
And then
I
they
mean,
might be taking it personally, and it's actually all because you created
because you've created this.
deficit.
the one. And we're on a spiral. And we're on a spiral. But
Mm-hmm.
I think just seeing that overflow of the cup just allows you to go, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to make myself bleed inside and out to get this done because this is not mine.
Yep.
But I also want to emphasize with this is people change. And so if we're releasing other people's opinion, people change. So the person who used to be a gossip a year ago may not be that gossip anymore. They may have had a different change of life that they're not that person. They might still gossip, that's right, but they might not be to that extent. So be aware because I have changed, Moira's changed, you, each listener, we've all changed. So we may go, oh yeah, but 5 years ago I couldn't invite them to this because they did this. Well, I'd like to think 5 years on,
That
they're
they're,
making choices
yeah,
or not, or keeping with the same choice. But I'd like to think. So just know if we've got other people's opinions, they may be old opinions.
yeah.
They may be old opinions. And I know when people say to me, you did this, I cringe sometimes. Someone told me something I did recently and I was cringing, going, did I really, or did you make that up? And as soon as they told me, I was like, that sounds like me. That sounds like me. My goodness.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they were like, no, Deborah, you definitely did it. And I'm like, okay, okay. I don't believe I'd do that again. It was definitely a, okay, an ouch moment. But I'm no longer that person. I'm
No,
no
but
longer.
in that kind of scenario, I would encourage forgiveness coming in. And maybe that's actually a tip on itself, right? Is that people change and evolve, that sometimes that may mean
Let it
that
go.
yeah, let it go, forgive it. This is the holding on to the hot potato because I'll make sure I'm not letting you do that same thing again, but that's actually you making a story. So
Yeah,
forgiveness, I think, is a really important one about releasing other people's opinions. It's kind of like you can think that, but
yeah,
it's like I let go, I release that. And then sometimes we have to forgive ourselves too. In your example there, maybe you have to forgive yourself. Like, oh, okay.
yeah.
That's a bit of an ouch thing, but
That was an ouch thing. And he said, and he did say just as well, he said, I like you. Just as well, I still like you. It's 9 years on. He said, that was my first encounter with you. I was like, whoa, okay. Okay, all right. I did good. I did good. I went hard. I went hard so fast. But it is to let that go as well. And I guess that
definitely.
let it go also goes back to don't take things personally.
Yes.
Because I know, Dr. John DeMartini, when I've talked to him about things and, that inner dialogue we have, and he says he would rather have the whole world against him than his own soul going against him. And it's
Mm,
just one of those things I would rather have because your soul is the one that's going to chew you up with those words that you tell yourself more than everyone else against you.
yep.
Um, and it is let it go, let it go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling into this too. I think trust is an important one here too,
Oh,
about
have we
relate.
not?
I know, here we've got this far into this conversation. Uh, but trust, if somebody else has a misunderstanding about you or they've misread a situation, that you trust that when you follow your soul's guidance, when you get in touch with your own Trinity, I like to think of our own Trinity as being our head, our heart, and a higher self. And so when we can really put our hand on our heart and say, I am aligned with my own guidance, with my own truth, then you can trust that other people's opinions are actually none of your business. It's kind of like, yep, that's more
Yeah.
about you than it is to do with me, right?
Yes, and I think with other people's opinions, going back to this, if you're we talked about this a little bit before we started. If you're in a job or you work for yourself, you do think differently. If your boss says you've got to do this, there's those things called an income, and you have to do things, and you can't say no all the time. And there's only a point where you get to that point where you're saying no, no, no more often. But it does come into that. It does come into that effect. But I do think that when we look at that, we have to look at, I know what I'm trying to say. We have to look at, is that really the important? If these people have that other people's opinion about you, is that money important? Like, is it time for you to assess, is this the right place to be? Or is it time to actually pivot and move on?
Right. And maybe it is, but you still need that income. Then you can make a commitment to yourself that this is just temporary, and I'm making, I'm changing my energy. I'm choosing to stay here while I
My
do what
actions
it takes to,
doing something else. Yeah.
yeah, to get somewhere else. Because we're not saying quit your job.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. And I'm saying build the money, but really assess the money for what it's worth. If you have someone who has an opinion on you in a job because they want it done their way, because it's realistically, that's what it is. It's their way, not your way. When people are telling you off, it's actually, we want it done this way. I mean, that's it. But just being aware of that.
Well, that's actually because sometimes we can work in environments in that corporate type thing that somebody might have an agenda based on their worldview, and yet, like you say, if they're the one that's paying your salary, then kind of you are going to want to pay attention to their opinions. But always remember, you are the boss of you, right? So you taking things in or playing a role, they're different things, right?
Yeah. Well, I also think when people have an opinion, you can actually listen to them. You don't have to go, I know more, I know better. Actually, they might have a shortcut. For me, there's I'm training my new PA, and there's times I just want to scream. Times I'm literally like, come on, and I feel like I'm battered. And there's things and there's other, and I'm just teaching her to fish. Because if I go, this is how I do it, bang, 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 she's not going to learn. So it's painful. There's moments that I'm having pain, and she says, and bless her, she's like, I can see this is painful for you, and I'm like, okay, and I can't deny it because my filter face is dropped. Yeah, gone. It's gone. But some of the things she's taught me when I can do 3 steps, she's actually gone, hey, this is how I do it, and it's 2 steps or 1 step. So it's being that humbleness or being aware to actually open to that feedback, that communication, that correspondence, that education, and you can pick and choose what works for you. But it's not shutting off, other people's opinions just because they're an a-hole yesterday. It's actually, okay, they might have something here. Let me have a look at it.
Yeah, and that's actually what I just noted down from that was that it's having an interest and perspective of like, I'm going to listen to what you're saying and assess from there. Because sometimes, and to your point, you can say, oh, never thought of it that way. Okay, let's try it that way for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
no, it might be, tried it, doesn't work.
Well, that's that humble versus ego again, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't like you, so why should I listen to you? Blah, 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 blah.
But that's just being tyrannical about saying you know everything, and that's really being stuck to your own agenda. That's what I was saying about sometimes working for others can be that they've got an outdated, outmoded agenda that maybe it's stuck in the dark ages or something.
Yeah, well, which also goes to it's how you deliver the message. So if we're
Yes.
talking techniques to release other people's opinions, no, I'm not effing doing that. F off. Who do you think you are? No one's going to listen to that.
No.
That's instantly. But if you just go, okay, I hadn't thought about it that way. Can I have a look at that later today? You're instantly, there's just a different dynamics in how you're delivering the message, how you're saying no, how you're saying yes, how you're showing up is important.
And also looking after your own energy, because let's say somebody says something or gives you an order, get this done and do it this way, and you don't have the
I love
bandwidth.
those. Love those people. Love those people.
You might not have the bandwidth. You might be feeling depleted, and you have the right to sort of say, I'm just going to take a minute and I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Right? Just,
Yeah.
maybe it means getting up out of your chair and going for a little walk, shaking the energy off, and then come back to it, as opposed to getting into reactionary mode right there, feeling like, oh, I have to defend myself. No, maybe you just need to say, give me a moment. Right?
Yeah, and I find we are fearful of saying, just let me process that, just give me a minute.
Yeah.
I find we are, so it is about speaking up. Because if you don't speak up, if you don't speak up, the physical symptoms take over in your body.
Hmm.
And we don't need more of that going on right now.
No, we definitely not. Do you know that you saying speak up reminds me of a time, I think this was when I lived in the UK, that I remember this it was an election time, and the election kind of, I can't even remember it, the party that got in was not the favorite, and
Oh, yeah.
it then created all this outcry of like people bitching and complaining, and the ones that complained the loudest oftentimes hadn't even voted.
Oh, sorry.
And so
It's
this
so
is my
true.
point, is like, yes, we can speak up, but make sure it's coming from
You.
yeah, have you done it, or are you just making up a story or just bitching and complaining? Let's face it, there's an awful lot of bitching and complaining, and it's like, where is it rooted in, right?
Well, I know, and I think the other thing is I've consciously looked at my conversations I'm having around me.
Mm.
And I'm questioning myself when I go to say something. Now, just for the record, everybody who knows me is going, no, you didn't. There's probably 8 out of 10 I hold it in, and the other two it comes out. So stop focusing on the two people.
There's the other 8. Remember the
There's
8.
another 8. Focus on the 8. But I think it's going, is this enhancing the conversation or is it dragging it down?
Mm.
And it just allows you to take that moment before you speak up and say something. It
Yeah.
just gives you to go, actually, it's the same thing. Is this mine to hold on to? Is it somebody else's? It's just taking that moment to reflect and pause before you speak. Because when those words are out, you can't take them back.
No, and to your point, sometimes something comes up within us that's actually more to do with it's alerting you that this isn't the environment for you to be. This isn't the situation for you. So then it's kind of like, thanks, I got
Mm.
that, and now I'm going to remove myself from this. That's when it's kind of like, Kate, I got it, thanks. I'm going for a walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're listening to Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Deborah and Moira, here to help listeners unlock their full potential so they can thrive, not just survive. They've shared some very powerful insights so far, so it's time to take a moment to breathe, reflect, and jot down any key takeaways. What's one piece of advice that stands out to apply right away? Before wrapping up, Deborah and Moira would love to hear from everyone. Reach out with thoughts, questions, or feedback, and drop your favorite tip from today's episode. They're inspired to see how listeners are putting these insights into practice. Let's dive back in and finish strong.
Releasing other people. And so the other thing too, I just thought of that sometimes people might stay in an environment because they actually have this, oh my God, but what will people say? It's like,
Yeah.
who cares what people will say if you're being really heart-led and really genuine and authentic and walking with integrity, not getting caught up in a woulda, coulda, shoulda type stuff, right?
I think that's a great one, is actually coming back. Am I integrity with my core being? Like, am I integrity with myself?
Yeah.
Does this align with me or is this somebody else's?
Yeah. So what BS am I following? Oh, that's
Yeah.
belief system, remember.
But I mean, even well, that goes back to those questions. Is this good for me? Is this good for others? And do I want to as well? There's another whole different
Mhm.
spin on that. Don't do things for obligation.
Definitely. Definitely. Because when we get into obligation, then it's almost like they have to accept me. They have to like me. They have to approve of me.
I've done this. I've done this 10 times to them. One more time won't harm me. One more time they might see me as a nice person. No,
Nope.
no. No, just let them be. We can get so wound up in other people's opinions. So I think that, you know, when we go back to going, is this enhancing conversation, taking it down? You know, be aware of who you're sharing that information with.
Yes. And that's something you and I've talked about I was going to say off camera, but you don't know that we're
It
on
is off
camera.
camera, yeah. Off the voice,
Off,
yes.
off it's the I lost what I was going to say. Oh, about being aware of your circles, right? You have your trusted tribe. You have people that you share certain aspects with. You have things that you might share completely different aspects with another circle. I think it's very important to have that awareness and
Mm.
also understand that can shift and change as we shift and change, right?
Mm. Well, it's yes, it can, and I think there's fear. There's that fear comes in. Oh, what about that? Or what if they don't like me? Or what if this happens and I fail again? Um, fear means you're just attached to an old story.
Yeah.
You're just attaching yourself to an old story, and when we really dig into that fear, well, I know with Moira and I know what I do, and I don't know how Moira does her process, but I know that
Hmm.
fear is just a story.
Yeah.
It's literally just a story that can be resolved just like this.
Hmm.
But we can allow it to run us for so long.
Yeah. And so that's when we have to really focus on doing our own work.
Mm.
We say, I'm not gonna keep telling that story. We get to rewrite the stories all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it comes about by trusting, by speaking up, by one of my favorite questions, and I've said this on
I
many
know this
different
sounds, I
episodes.
know what she's going to say. Does it make me feel?
How does it how does
I
this
know.
make me feel about me here? How do I feel about myself here? How does this make me feel about me? Because that's a really excellent way to get back into integrity and not get caught up in the inner critic dialogue or the woulda, coulda, shoulda, or the comparing ourselves to others of like, oh, I better do it that way because that person's doing it, and I want to, look or be accepted
Mm.
in that light. But it's kind of like, no, how do I feel about myself? I feel connected. I feel in my heart. I feel
Yeah.
aligned, authentic, in
Yeah.
integrity. Such an important piece here, right?
Totally. And when so it's actually turning it away because I was just thinking when this comes up, there's a thing called why.
Mhm.
Why are they saying this stuff about me? Why did this happen to me again? Well, it's truthful. Because they're saying this, it must be true. Why? Can you just stop the why train?
Yep. The Y
Because the
train's
why
always
train,
going to spiral down.
and even if, and we have to write why down on my piece of paper because otherwise I'm going to forget it again. Um, well, what happens is we get so caught up in the why, and even if you say to somebody, "Why did you say that about me?" They may not tell you the truth.
Hmm.
And we go, I'm going to ask them. They're not going to tell you, they may not tell you the truth. Like we get so hung up on that. Why did you do that? Why? Forget the why. It is, what is the gift? What is the blessing? What's the appreciation I get this? It's the what.
Yep.
Changing that why to a
Changing the
what
why to the what. Yep.
makes a massive difference because the truth is you're never, ever going to get the truth
Nope.
because people tell us truth differently today than they do if they've had a great sleep or if they've had a poor sleep. It's going to be worded completely different.
Or they may tell you it in one way because that's what they think you
You
need.
want.
You
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
But changing it, I think I've said this before, is that if you think about it, why why comes from our thinking mind, from our mind,
Yeah.
whereas what comes from our heart. Feel that. Why is like, why did they do this? Why did you do that? Why didn't you do that? That's all inner chatter. That's in your head. All the
It's
inner
the
dialogue, right? But what
brain.
lands into your heart and says, what is mine to deal with? What is the gift? What's the wisdom? What's the best way here?
It just takes it to a completely different angle, one that seems more manageable.
Yeah.
Because why can be an endless seed of emotions that aren't yours?
Well, because also, and I think I've said this before, that I can't remember where I learned this, but it was from a psychological study that says when we are asked why, we immediately interpret it as we've done something wrong. So just
Oh, of course.
internally,
Yeah.
why did you do that? Our immediate reaction is, oops, I screwed up. And so
Well, it is, and then the moment you say I've screwed up, you're literally on this tangent that is a very fast track to doomsdale.
yeah. Yes.
It is.
It's like
Yeah.
that. I think it's like circling the drain,
Yes, yes.
right? Spiraling down the drain. That's what why does.
But you can
Psychologically, that's what why does to us.
going down the drain, you can see it go down. You're like, come on, get out of here. Go, 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 go. Yeah, that's it. And it gets its rapid speed.
Yep. And we can halt that by simply saying, what? What am I to do? What can I do? And sometimes when we say, what can I do? It might be nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, could be. It could be. One of the things, and I was talking about this with our group yesterday, is look at yourself when you see a problem or they're doing what they're doing. Take yourself out of the equation and just look at yourself like you're floating above and you're looking at that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can look at it differently because you're not in the problem, you're actually above the problem and you're looking. And you're seeing this conversation go on and you're going, wow, this is actually not mine. Because when you're actually removing yourself, the old famous remove yourself from the situation, you can see things a lot differently. So when you do that, you can have a little bit of empathy towards the other person or just go, well, this makes so much sense. Look at the way I'm standing, or look at the way I'm aggressive to them, or look at the way I'm ignoring them. So let's just take that moment to actually remove yourself from the situation, remove yourself out of the situation, just look above, and you can see a lot more clearly when you actually remove that emotion from it.
That's
That makes sense.
beautiful. It does, because that's getting the big picture viewpoint. Then that does help you step into problem solving and realize there actually is no problem.
Yeah, well, I know, because there's definitely a solution to every problem which we believe. Sometimes you can't see that solution, and that's where it jumps back to
To
trust. Sometimes you
trust,
can't see it.
absolutely. Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, we have got we're running out of time here, people. So let's shall we wrap this up and take this home? And I just might throw another one out there for Moira, just prepare now. There might just be another one coming your way. So
And that's okay.
yeah. So when we go to this, our techniques to release other people's opinion, ensure that you've got your note-taking device, people. Grab it, grab it, grab it, because we're going to go straight into it. And tip number one was literally Moira's heart coherent grounding exercise at the very, very start.
Mhm.
And that just releases all energy, all negative energy away from you, brings it back to your beautiful energy, and just brings you back to your core. And if you can start your day with something like that, is a great way to land your day. But if you didn't start it this morning and it's 3 o'clock now, do it now.
Yeah.
Do it now. It does not have to be before you get out of bed in the morning. It does not have to be the first thing you do in the morning. It's, I'm going to do that now.
Yeah,
And it just takes you back to your energy field.
definitely. And you can do it multiple times in your day, by the way, too. It's not just a once
Oh,
and
yeah.
done. It's actually never a once and done.
Yeah.
The next one, and this is Deb brought in the 4 agreements. The 4 agreements is very, very powerful and very important in this idea around techniques to release other people's opinions. So the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And we've said, I don't think we said it today, but we suggest that you say, just for today, I'm going to be impeccable with my word. Just for today, I'm going to not take things personally. Just for today, I'm not going to make an assumption. And just for
Just for
today,
today makes
I'm
it
doing.
So lovely.
It does.
So
It makes it so tangible, so real, and
Yeah.
and so possible for you, right? Yeah,
Just for today. Just for
just for
today.
today.
The next tip, the next technique I have is seen, heard, and acknowledged.
Mhm.
And this is when you're looking at other people's opinions, we both require it. I require to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and also for others, they want to be seen, heard, acknowledged. And I just want to say you don't have to agree with them. There's a
No,
difference in acknowledging, because if it feels right for you to not agree, that's okay. But you just want to ensure that you can see, hear, and acknowledge, and that literally just consolidates the chaos down to something tangible and manageable. So that's yourself and others.
right. And I would say that you need to do that for yourself first in order to do
Yes.
it for others, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
just, yes, all it starts inside. The next one leading on from that was that I had said that if you do find yourself taking something to heart, like maybe you do get triggered by somebody's opinions or something, is inviting you to use it as a wee tap on your shoulder to sort of say, hey, honey, bring
Mm.
your awareness within and see, is there something that you need to attend to? Maybe it is something that you haven't seen, heard, and acknowledged in yourself, and you can kind of shift the energy right there, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I added with a little bit of that one, so we can put it as
Hmm.
another. Well, this actually has
This
two.
is, yeah, this
This
is
one has
another part.
another part to this was be curious.
Yeah.
When we're looking at that, look within, be curious. And then you're going to go two branches when you've got that look within and be curious. You're going to go, is this mine or is this someone else's? So you're going to separate them. You're
Yep.
literally going to separate the two boxes. And is this mine? Oh, I'm going to celebrate that. I've got something to work on, something juicy to work on. But is this someone else's? Ha, I'm celebrating that they're going to work on it, not me. I've got other things. So each one you're going to celebrate, but you're going to make sure that it's sitting in two separate boxes. Is this mine or is this someone else's?
Yep. Yep. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That led into me saying that it's really important to staying present to what is. Because when we ask ourselves that question, is this mine or is this for somebody else? We can only do this in the now moment. Not
Mm,
yesterday, not tomorrow, not last year, but staying present. So making a conscious choice and maybe doing some form of that grounding exercise that I usually take us through, or come into your heart, maybe just put your hand on your heart. Am I being present to what is in my sphere right now?
yeah.
Right?
Well, I know I've got a couple of blank bits, so I'll just fill in what I think maybe. But this one was your PEMS. I don't
Mm,
know if, yeah, this is a separate tip. Okay, great.
yep.
And this is your PEMS. So be aware of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Be aware of that. If you've had a poor sleep, you're going to be a little bit off course. If you've had an inspiring sleep, you're going to have a different vibe. If you've read a book and it's challenged you, it's going to throw your day out. So just be aware of your PEMS, and it allows you to check in where you are physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Definitely. And then leading from that, we talked about giving from your saucer. This is one of my favorite analogies. That actually really fully underlines hugely the necessity for sacred self-care each and every day in order to continuously fill your cup so that you can give from the overflow. And of course, when you do your sacred self-care, you're doing it for your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. So those two tips interweave beautifully.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And also remembering that you have evolved.
Yeah,
Next technique is reminding yourself you're no longer that person from last week. You're no longer that person. You're no longer that person who was here before you started this podcast, people, by
that's
the
right.
way.
By the way,
You are no longer. So remind yourself that you've evolved. And sometimes people know the old you, and that's okay. But you don't have to prove anything. So just know that you have evolved and you're on track doing your thing.
yes. And that was you had brought up something that somebody had said you had done. And that's when I said another one that could help with this recognition that you've evolved is forgiveness. So if something comes up, you might need to forgive yourself or forgive another, right?
Yeah, totally, totally, totally. The next tip I've got is let it go. Let it
Yes.
go, let it go, let it. I'm not
Mhm.
singing,
There's a
everybody.
song.
Let it go. You and this is because we know when you hold things on, it's the worst thing you possibly do to your body, to other people around you.
Right.
So the more you're holding on to things, so it's much easier just to let it go. Let it
Yep.
go. That's it. Drop the hot potato.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Um, the next one I have here is to trust. Trust that other people, and I've said this so many times before, everybody's going to have an opinion of you. The people just can't help it. But it's other people's opinion is not your business. So kind of, see, hear, and acknowledge it and let it go. Allow it and trust. The key piece about the trusting, though, is to make sure that you have got your own trinity aligned. So your head, your heart, and your higher self operating with integrity, with authenticity. That's kind of what the purpose of all of our lives is, right?
I love you said a few words earlier. You said, I'm aligned with my own guidance.
Yeah.
And just that alone just brings you right back to your heart of when you're making decisions for yourself.
Yes.
The next tip or the technique I have is be aware that when you're working for somebody, they will have an opinion because they may know another solution or a shortcut, or it has to be their way. So just check in with what their agenda is, but also be aware that you're not a performing monkey for this money. So is the money actually worth it for what's happening around you? Because if you're constantly getting negated or corrected every day, then maybe you're not in the right place. So just be aware, just question that, apart from that, get curious again. Get curious. Is this
Yeah.
job actually for me and in alignment with me?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, curiosity. Actually, then that's because the next technique that I have here is about how you deliver what you need to say. And that can come from a space of curiosity too. So really check in. Are these words going to land right? Are they going to enhance or drain? Do I need to say it? Or is it just something that I can kind of journal out or release or shake off? Right. So making sure that you're being uh, in integrity with what the best way to communicate is, right?
I love that. I love that. Yes, and we're delivering with love. We're delivering with
Yes,
love.
yes, from your
And
heart space.
yeah, and one of the things I'm saying is this enhancing my conversation or is it taking it down? So again, it's
Mhm.
getting curiosity. Curiosity ain't killing no cat. It's just getting it all out. But it is this enhancing my conversation or taking it down?
Mhm.
The next one I have is obligation.
Mhm.
Obligation will throw you off course. It will make you do things that are not in your heart aligned.
Right.
Because the moment you have to go, am I doing this through obligation? The answer is yes, because you're having to question it. Whereas if the answer is no, you wouldn't even be questioning it.
That's right.
So just check in with that obligation.
Mhm. And that's when we actually said about using my 3 questions. Is this good for me? Is this good for them? And do I want to? And all of them have to be yes. If it's kind of like, oh, wait, I'm not sure. Or let me think about it, or I'll get back to you. That's no. They're all no's.
Yeah. Maybe pause, reflect, yes.
Yep. Yep. The next one I have is I talked about being aware of your tribe, but not only being aware of your tribe, being aware of the circles, right? So we have our trusted people that are right in our inner circle. And then we might have circles that are further out that you share certain pieces or aspects of you and your life. And that's a very honoring piece. So people that are in circles way, way out, it's so much easier to release their opinions because it's kind of like, well, they don't actually know who this inner being is that is me, right?
Yeah.
But it's our responsibility to know them and to roll with that, right?
Yeah, I love that. And the next technique I have is why? Why me? Why me
Why?
again? Why do they do it to me and everyone else? Why? It's when children learn that word and you're just like, oh my God, why? So you're going to change that why into a what.
Yep.
What's the gifts here? What's the blessing? What's the appreciation? And you're just flicking it around in your head. So you're going to think differently and it helps you move a lot quicker throughout life. It just moves smoothly. Turn that why into what, because the why is a hamster wheel where you fall off your legs in the air. It's the only way. Because you'll never get the truth. You never get the truth.
And I had also added to that one that why comes from a chattering mind, whereas what comes from our heart energy. And it's succinct and it's in integrity and helps us to navigate choices, as opposed to the spiral down the drain that why can create.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The last one I have here is your suggestion, your technique of removing yourself from the situation and looking at it from above so that you get to see the whole situation. Actually, that lends itself to creating some understanding. It's like, I don't have to like this, I don't have to totally get it, but I see it. I see how come this evolved in that way, right?
Yeah, that's just one that I've done more and more of, and I'm like, oh, and the answer comes so much quicker.
Yeah.
Because you're not focused on the problem. You're just like, okay, let's be curious again. Be curious. Let's see where we go. Well, today's techniques to release other people's opinions. Crikey, Mikey, there was a lot in that today.
There
was
was a lot. Yes.
And they seem to float. Well, surprise, no mistake there. They just float into one. They float into one. So I trust you got just for today. I trust you got just for today, people. I trust you got just for today. Because there were some great golden nuggets in there. Some I'm going to take on that be curious again. I'm just going to really land into that and go,
I really like that one.
Just puts a little bit of fun. I know some people have different kinds of fun in my day, but that's what I'm going to do today for my funness. But I really would love people to really assess where they are in life and where they'd like to be. And if this is something big for you, the techniques we've got to release other people's opinions. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
We're in the middle of a thunderstorm right here and there's everything going on. But if you're looking to release those techniques to release other people's opinion, just pick one, just for today, pick one that feels right for you and start flowing. And then you're going to implement, because we know that momentum is the key. We know showing up, turning up to our podcast, you're going to hear something different each time. There's definitely ones that we use common, like trust. And
and for agreement.
Gratitude.
We did celebration.
Yeah, we did celebration.
We did, yeah.
Just those ones that pop in there. So you're going to hear them differently. And just for today, just start embedding bit by bit by bit, because we are going for momentum here. And this is where you are going to release other people's opinions from you, because it's not as hard as what you think.
Definitely.
So we would love you to know, what's your favorite technique we gave you today? Let us know, because we're embedding your techniques into a hot list of what you love to do. We're putting together something. That's all I'm going to tell you. So if you love today, then please let us know what's your favorite technique that you can do effortlessly.
Just for today.
Just for today. So thank you, Moira. Thank you, listeners. And you wouldn't believe the thunder has just stopped. Just stopped right now. I'm thankful you couldn't hear it. There was a bit of a concern, because I did have an opinion on other people's opinions if they could hear thunder in the background. I'll go back to just for today. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, listeners, for our techniques to release other people's opinion. We appreciate you, and we'll see you. You'll hear from us next time.
On our next one. Thank you, dear Deb. Thank you, Internet. And thank you, listeners. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into Deliciously Motivated Mindset with Deborah and Moira, where the mission is to help listeners unlock their full potential and thrive, not just survive. As the episode comes to a close, they trust you've gained some powerful insights. If you haven't already, take a moment to reflect on one key takeaway that you'll apply right away. Before we wrap things up, Deborah and Moira would love to hear from you. Reach out with thoughts, questions, or feedback and drop your favorite tip from today's episode. They're inspired to see how you're putting your insights into action. Thanks for listening, and remember to keep thriving.